Hello, hello. We are going to be talking about a champion that has quite a interesting past inside Raid Shadow Legends, in my opinion, as it relates to my account at the very least. Before we do that, we are about halfway through roughly the Skorid fusion. I'm curious how many of you guys are actually going for this champion, or if you're seeing this after the fusion has concluded, go ahead and let me know down below, of course, what you think, how you built him, where you're using him, all those sorts of good things. Especially now that we've seen the damage testing and we've seen his multipliers and everything like that, I definitely think he is a very good champion that most people should be going for. He's going to be an incredible champion, and you're going to see him in quite a few Hydra teams, is my impression. The champion that we are talking about and doing a guide on today is going to be Gorgorab. Gorgorab is an epic support champion from the Undead Hordes faction, and the reason that I say he is so interesting is because back in the day, I was trying to push myself through Arena quite a bit, and I desperately wanted him. However, I wasn't able to get him from any of the shards, try as hard as I might, and there was probably only about half the champions in the game when I started playing that there are currently. I think currently we're over like 800 champions or something like that. This guy was so crucial at that time though, because he has a very good speed arena aura of 23%, and I didn't really have any aura leads at that point. I didn't have my Arbiter yet, those sorts of things, and this guy would be in so many of the teams I would go against, and he would just be so fast and revive everybody and all that sort of stuff. And then I finally got him, and I was very disappointed, because by that point, I had so many other champions on my account that could do similar things. So for example, High Katoon if I needed the speed, still for the revives and the heals and the crowd control and all that sort of stuff. But I still want to showcase Gorgorab because he is a champion that still has a bit of a sweet place in my heart, considering how good he used to be and how good he even still is for most content. I do have him built out in Faultless Defense. We'll go over that in a few moments. So first of all, his A1 attacks one enemy, has a 75% chance, which is a very good chance, of removing one random buff. This is very good if you're trying to get through PvE, especially against those annoying waves where they sometimes randomly put up a block damage or an unkillable. I believe it is Fire Knight 20 is incredibly bad for that, where they'll get the unkillable, and if you're using a lure on your team and she just keeps dropping their turn meter, you basically just leave it on auto overnight and you come back and you've just done the one run. It is absolutely insane. So having somebody that can remove a buff at a 75% clip rate is very, very good. This is the only skill on his kit, though, that has an accuracy requirement. So you're either building him with the accuracy to do this, or you're not building him with accuracy whatsoever. A2, 3-turn cooldown, turn meter boost by 15%, and places the big version of an increased attack on all allies for 2 turns. Very simple skill, very good skill. This is very similar to something you would see on like a Deacon Armstrong, except instead of placing the increased attack, he's decreasing the enemy's defense. A very, very solid skill, and this is kind of the skill that he was known for in the arena as well. And then obviously his A3 revives any dead allies with 25% HP, then heals all allies by 25%. The heal will happen even if there are no dead allies. Now this is a crucial part of the text, because this basically means that he can use his A3 even if nobody's dead. So sometimes you will have to manual content just to make sure that he doesn't use this before somebody dies or something like that. This is on a 5-turn cooldown, which is definitely a significant duration. It'd be kind of cool to see this buff to like a 4-turn cooldown or something like that, or possibly a larger heal. I doubt they'd put it on a 4-turn cooldown just considering he is an AoE epic reviver, but I think we have something like Ursala who does the same thing, but he still brings a lot to his kit. And then of course, like I mentioned, the aura of speed in arena battles by 23%. Now blessings, let's go ahead and talk about this. I was running him inside Faultless Defense prior to the Faultless Defense rework, so he obviously does not place an increased defense, so this is useless. Basically, the way that Faultless Defense used to work is that for each subsequent hit on a skill, he would take a percentage less damage. So if you were going against a Drexstar and he was A1ing you with his triple hit or something like that, you'd take less damage each time they hit you. I'm going to go ahead and change this. I'm going to throw my infographic on the screen here now for you guys to check out. Basically, what the recommendation in most situations is to run a commanding presence on this champion to strengthen your team's aura. This champion, in most cases, if you're using him on your account, is getting used in one of 2 areas. You're either using him in Arena because you're a fairly new game player, or a fairly new account rather, or you're using him in Faction Wars because you need help progressing Faction Wars. There isn't too many areas I use this champion anymore, unfortunately, just because he's been power crept by a lot of other champions. So if I need a healer, I'll bring in somebody like a Pythion. If I need an increased attack champion, I'll bring in somebody like my Eostrid, or I'll bring in an Arbiter, or I'll bring in any number of other champions that can do the same role. Now don't get me wrong, Just because this guy has been power crept on my particular account does not mean that you should not build him or that you should not use him. This guy is an incredible champion. So Commanding Presence is a very solid way to go. Miracle Heal is also decent if you're trying to go through content where you're taking a lot of destroyed max HP. So for example, Hydra could be decent. Every time he's using his A3, he's restoring a little bit of your destroyed max HP. We are going to go ahead and switch him over to Commanding Presence though. And keep in mind, since the Blessing rework as well, it doesn't really matter what you pick, even if it's a rare or even if it is a legendary blessing. A rare or an epic, because you're going to get the same stat boost from it anyways, so it doesn't really matter what rarity of blessing you're picking. Just pick whatever works for your particular account. If you're trying to get a little bit of damage out of them, you could even use something like, say, for example, a Phantom Touch. This can also help you take down the Fire Knight's shield if that's something you're trying to do. So as always, just look at this with a grain of salt and pick what applies to your account most. Now, I have mine built out in War Master, because by the time I got him, I was primarily using him in a PvE capacity. If you're using him inside the arena, I would not recommend building him inside War Master Masteries. I'd recommend instead coming over to Timely Intervention as your tier 6 inside the support tree. This is the mastery to have on any sort of a support champion, especially if you're using them inside PvP, because anytime that somebody drops below 25% HP, even if they get an unkillable buff or something like that, so like in the Leorius, for example, or a Swift Parry proc, you are still going to get that turn meter boost, which is crucial for your revivers and your healers and your cleansers to have. So definitely make sure to build them out with that if you're worried about it. Counterattack masteries would also be quite useful if you're trying to proc as A1 and get those buff strips as well. Gear, this is how I have them built out. 66k HP, 3100 defense. You kind of want to aim for around 3200 defense, 210 at speed, and then 392 resistance, along with 247 accuracy. We are going to be running him in the Dragon's Lair to show you a team. This is how it looks. And let's go ahead and take a look at the gear itself. I do have him built out in a 4-piece perception set, so basically anytime somebody gets a buff, it's going to help to increase his turn meter fill. And as you can see, the rolls were just hardcore focusing on things like speed and defense and resistances. Don't mind the flat stat gauntlets. These are some of the best gauntlets I have so far for the supersonic set, so I just wanted to keep them. Definitely looking to switch those out, obviously, with maybe like an HP stat or something like that, but I also don't want to rework it and risk losing my speed roll, because that's one of my highest rolls so far on a gauntlet. This guy is incredibly useful inside Faction Wars. As a matter of fact, I did take the diligence to record a Faction Wars run with this champion. So I'll go ahead and throw that up on the screen here now. It's going to be very quick, so you can just look at it and see how he helped to carry me to victory. We're going to go ahead and we're going to run into Dragons 20 and run this particular team here. We basically have Daithy coming in for a decreased defense. We have him being aided, of course, by the increased attack on the Gorgorab, and then we have a Newt coming in for a little bit of damage. Now, don't get me wrong, this team is definitely not optimized, because Daithy's not built for damage fully, Newt's not built for damage, and Newt is not fully booked. Newt is also not mastered out. So it's essentially going to come down for the most part just between Daithy. Daithy is an absolutely fantastic champion, by the way, who, as you can see, can do a lot of damage. Very competent damage dealer. He's also bringing a lot of extra turn mechanics, as well as some decreased defense, increased accuracy, and he self-buffs himself with the increased attack as well. So Gorgorab is not a necessary champion to run on this particular team, of course, but you can still get an idea, because Gorgorab helps to make sure that everybody stays topped up with his A3, just keeping everybody nice and healthy, keeping everybody revived, of course, if somebody goes down. The bad side to this team as well is that Newt is a Spirit Affinity champion. So if you're trying to just speed run this, this probably isn't going to be the best. But at the end of the day, this is a 3-man team getting through Dragon 20. If you're struggling with progression and you're trying to get somewhere, Gorgorab can definitely help you. You can see everybody's pretty much at full HP at this point, which is in no small part thanks to him. We don't have any leeches. We don't have any life steal, nothing like that. So Gorgorab is still a fantastic champion. I do quite like him. And I use him actually quite a bit inside the city of Centranos as well. So that's definitely worth mentioning. And you still, even in 2024, when this is being recorded, you can still get a lot of use out of him inside Live Arena at lower levels. Or, of course, your Tag Team Arena or your Classic Arena. Now, of course, I'm Gold 5 in Classic Arena, and I am Gold 1-ish in Tag Team Arena. Silver 4, Gold 1, that area. So it's been a long time since I've seen a Gorgorab. But if you're in Bronze, if you're in Silver Classic Arena, if you're in Silver Live Arena even, and you have this guy built out, he can be very competent. And if you have him built in something like, say, for example, a stone skin set, right, and he just stays alive and he revives everybody, that can be huge, even if he is just reviving another person, like, say, for example, a Duchess or Suga or somebody who can help keep your team alive. We are progressing through this with a fairly decent rate of time as well, so we're about 2 minutes in when we get to the boss. We get some weak hits there on the Blessed Bash, unfortunately, from the Newt. Newt is an absolutely fantastic champion that I pulled recently, and I'll probably be doing a showcase on as well, but I do want to make sure he's fully booked out before I do that, so we're still just waiting for that to happen, unfortunately. I do like the fact that his A1 books to 100% chance of a freeze as well. That's quite nice. You can see Dithey just absolutely shafting the dragon here with so many extra turns. We're taking a little bit of damage on everybody now thanks to those poisons, so we'll probably see Gorgorab come in with his cleanse here soon enough. If you're fighting Dragon hard as well, something that's worth mentioning is he can actually help to strip off that increased attack, I believe. I don't think it's a protected increased attack. I could be wrong on that. I'll have to check sometime when I go. So we can see Newt, I believe, got healed up a little bit there. I don't know if Gorgorab popped his A3 off yet or not, but Gorgorab does actually get the end kill there as well, the final hit, which is very fitting. You can see he brought in 72,000 worth of heals. Newt apparently is a better healer, but that's not Gorgorab's only use case, of course. This guy is definitely a very, very decent champion. In terms of stat priorities, you're basically just looking to build him with HP, defense, speed, and resistance, pretty much in that order. Let me know down below if you guys use Gorgorab, where you use him, and how he fits into your teams. I'd be very interested to hear about that. Thank you guys, as always, for the support on the channel. I'll see you next time.